whether you're in Melbourne or Perth or Sydney or Adelaide, welcome, and look forward to talking to you about Limeade today. Next slide, please. Important notice and disclaimers, please read thoroughly, and you will have a printed copy as well. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about the company. Limeade employs nearly 300 people. We're a global organization. We have an employee experience software technology, mobile-first technology that we provide to people all over the world, millions of users in over 100 countries in large enterprises. We pride ourselves on winning awards for our own culture as we are essentially trying to influence and positively so cultures in the face of great challenges to employee well-being, employee safety, connection, as well as recognition and other domains of feeling supported by your company. As a market-leading company, we've been recognized by Forrester and others as a pioneer in the enterprise employee experience industry. And we're a pure SaaS business. About 98% of our revenue is recurring, and we are a $56.1 million US per our prospectus 2020 revenue company, serving some of the biggest and best companies in the world, and we'll get to that, the customer makeup in just a moment. Next slide, please. Thank you. Just a market snapshot. I won't read all of these details except to say these are the basics of how we trade on the market. One of the things I will call out is the size of the pipeline. Limeade, our legacy brand, is known in the States as a pioneer and leader in employee well-being and engagement. We also have a solution for diversity and inclusion, which is incredibly topical right now. We've never seen such growth in the top end of our pipeline, even though we are in a macroeconomic challenge right now. So we're very excited about the future, and as a long-term part of the company, as the founder and someone who's been here 14 years, certainly ready to seize and take advantage of that incredible pipeline right now. Next slide, please. Just some of the basics about our business. So when we sell our software to a large company, especially the core well-being product, which makes up the bulk of our revenue, it's over a $600,000 US per year sale. We've seen overall when we sell our other solutions, including engagement, inclusion, the average comes down a little bit. It varies a little bit in North America versus Europe and the rest of the world. But in general, this is a high ticket item and of great value to large enterprises. I talked about the recurring revenue and the large customer base. But another thing I'll say is the margins have been steadily improving for year over year over year. We're getting better at the operational delivery of our software across our business and are continuing to grow as a business as well. Next slide, please. Thanks. Just a little bit of look and feel. It's hard to get the idea of software from 10,000 miles away and from a phone, but essentially we deliver an integrated employee experience software. Our brand promises that every employee of our customers knows that their organization cares about them. That could be well-being check-ins, physical well-being, emotional health, financial well-being, as well as social and other work factors. And how do those contribute? It could be pulse surveys about engagement or inclusion with specific actions and content from our over 700 pieces of content that we have in our library. And then proving value to our enterprise buyers is essential. Showing how participation in our program correlates to lower levels of staff turnover, increased levels of employee engagement, and other factors that executives and C-suites are very focused on. I think it's no surprise when you see companies with new leadership who put people first, see better stock result, better business results, and essentially Limeade is the footprint for the delivery of that to the large enterprise in the States and beyond. Next slide, please. The fundamentals of the platform, how does it work? First of all, think about updates as a feed of everything that's essential and important that the employee needs to know from their company. Communications capability, employee listening. In a remote work world, and actually even pre-COVID, almost 80% of workers don't sit in front of a computer and a desk all day. So how do you stay connected and bidirectionally listen and communicate with your employees? Do you have the insights you need to run a large distributed global organization? Can you provide activities, content, and learning so that people can not just see where they are, but improve where they are? Also, some social recognition, some social connection, the support of employee resource groups, and other basically ways to stay connected in a virtual world. And extensions is our word for making sure we fit into the broader HR technology ecosystem. Integrations with all of the major HRIS and payroll providers, different types of integrations to make sure we can pull the most relevant HR information and company information into a common mobile first interface. Everything we do is designed to fit in the pocket of someone riding their bus on the way to work. And we'll talk about the industries we serve in a moment. Thank you. Next slide. There's a trend going on in the world of work where companies are buying different separate solutions for all of these different categories listed here. And while it may make sense at the time for the buyer, it's quite inhumane to the employee to have to navigate not just these 9, but potentially 9 or 10 other systems and have to jump all over the place and remember passwords. And what it leads to is a bad technology experience and a bad employee experience. If you can combine all of these, or many of these, as Limeade does now, to deliver a more coherent message about what that company's purpose is, about what you need to do your job, if you can listen and respond to what's going on in the culture, you can have a better, more reactive workforce and better business results. Only Limeade has such a broad view of bringing all these things together in a single common mobile interface. Next slide, please. The market opportunity is huge for this. This is a growing market, growing at an estimated 15 to 20% per annum. And of our customer base, we serve a top 3 technology company in the world, a top 3 airline, a top 3 rental car company, a top 10 auto manufacturer, 3 of the top 20 pharmaceutical manufacturers, and yet we're just scratching the surface of this market with a prospectus forecast of 56.1 million US dollars. These are US dollar market sizes. It's an enormous global market. Our strength and footprint is largest in the United States. We have offices as well in Canada, Germany, and individual locations with a few people here and there in Switzerland and Australia as well. Next slide, please. Oh, it's another picture of me. I would just say, just to summarize what's going on in the world right now, we definitely saw a lot of fear in March and April and May. Here in Seattle was one of the first hotspots of COVID-19 in the States. And as you may read in the press from time to time, we have our share of social justice and other issues in the country that you might expect could lead to a slowdown in how enterprise software is purchased. And certainly we saw some of that in Q2 as well. But long-term demand has grown significantly this year. And Limeade has doubled down on the innovation that delivers on our core promise. If you think about a remote workforce, people dealing with children at home, people dealing with health issues related to COVID, companies having trouble reaching and connecting with their employees and keeping them engaged and focused and energized at work, helping people deal with the isolation, the stress, and all of the headache that comes from COVID is something that Limeade's been doing for over a decade. We pioneered this employee well-being space and have expanded into engagement and inclusion and communications at a time when the world needs it more than ever. So we've seen a great increase in demand and really are looking forward to the future as well. Next slide. Here's some outside analysis. So this is from Gartner and Acadian Ventures. The one on the left talks about some of the HR priorities in 2020 and 2021. Future of work, employee experience, leadership, competency development, but specifically post-COVID-19, you're talking about remote working, data collection, or as we would call it, listening, the social safety net for employee well-being. These are top priorities of large employers around the world. And the second index is just meant to indicate that we feel that software companies, or not we feel, Acadian, this analyst firm, feels that has been tracking high-tech companies and watching their accelerated growth. Anything related to the future of work. As a cloud-based software as a service or SaaS business, we're poised to see increased growth over time, given just migration to the cloud and secular trends going on in the world. Next slide, please. And what we've seen also, in addition to the pipeline increasing, is a six-fold increase in the level of top-tier media coverage that Limeade's doing. So our awareness is going up, not just in magazines like Chief Executive and Forbes and Inc., but also from some of the leading analysts in human resources technology in the world, like Josh Bersin quoted here, talking about Limeade, saying they focus on employee care, perhaps the number one issue companies face right now. Next slide. And one thing we've doubled down on during this challenging time is innovation. Limeade is an organic company. Almost all of our growth has been organic. We've built our own technology. We've invested $90 million US in the platform itself, the flexibility, the infrastructure, so that now we're allowed to deliver these quick market reactive innovations that our customers are demanding and that our prospects are finding very differentiated in the market related to those topics I talked about: employee listening, reaching dispersed employees, as well as recognition, and connecting people to those resources that are underutilized in most large companies today. Next slide, please. And one thing I'm very proud of and excited about is just the distribution of our customer base. We have a strong balance sheet. We just IPO'd in December, so we have tens of millions of dollars in the bank, but also have a really robust, not too concentrated customer base. I would just call your attention to the industry mix on the left. Specifically, roughly 2/3 of our customer base is in a strong defensive industry that's not necessarily affected particularly strongly by what's currently going on in the macroeconomy. And then we serve very large employees. As you can see, the mix of employees there it skews towards the large enterprise. So there are some really great companies out there, some of which are from your part of the world as well, that have tremendous businesses in employee engagement and listening, but very much focused on the mid-market, the repeatable mid-market sale. Limeade has invested so heavily in serving these complex, very rigidly structured and distributed workforce, different types of workforce populations. It's a unique and defensible position in the market. Next slide, please. Growth for us is simple. Grow add new customers in our core market in North America, as well as in the EU and beyond. Expand through upselling and cross-selling all of our different solutions to our customers. Build new offerings and look for inorganic ways to grow. As you saw in that chart earlier with the different boxes, there are a lot of really great pioneering, innovative HR technology companies that are very adjacent to what Limeade does. And we will look for the right fit that fits technically, culturally, strategically, and financially, and is accretive to our investors. That's what we're seeking in terms of inorganic growth. But everything else about the growth strategy is intact from the IPO prospectus and is going well. Next slide, please. We've shown consistent revenue growth over the years. These are the first halves. I would just say excited to be part of a growth company. Having seen our growth for 14 years, I would say we always grow. It always depends on how much, but we are in this for the long haul, and we're committed to being a strong leader in the employee experience market, leading with technology. Product first, culture of our organization is extremely strong. We pride ourselves on having the people, teams, and infrastructure to deliver continued growth as well. And that's what we're focused on as well. Next slide, please. The FY20 outlook is great. We've been reassuring our investors that we are on track. We've reaffirmed our guidance on revenue despite the macroeconomic challenges the world is facing through COVID-19. We have reaffirmed our guidance on EBITDA as well as net profit after tax. And back a few weeks ago when we announced our mid-year results, there was a material reduction in loss in both the EBITDA and net profit after tax. In other words, we've been incredibly frugal.
Henry, you're going to have to leave it there so you
Back
can get
to you.
across to your Q&A. You're right on time. Great start. Thank you for getting
Perfect.
us underway in such good style.